Everything you just saw happened entirely on my laptop. No cloud, no account, no audio leaving the machine. I didn't write a single line of code to build it, not one. What if we could do some transcription on device without letting the data go anywhere? You should never go to Claude Code and tell it, build me a transcription app. That's mental. I want a series of consecutive prompts that will help me build the app step by step.
The question is, how long did this all take?
The honest answer is 3 episodes of Sex and the City. So say 45 minutes. Prompts really ran themselves. Cloud AI helped me avoid using itself. So this is still using transcription, a language model, but it lives on my machine. I think a fantastic outcome.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. Good morning, good afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for being with us today. I'm very happy to be back here with Andrea Chiarelli. I hope I can say he's a friend of mine now here on Substack, and I always learn a lot working with him here. So I appreciate you coming on, Andrea. How's it going?
Oh, thanks for having me, Leo. No, it's a pleasure to be here today. And yeah, it's going pretty well. How about you?
Good. So I should mention, I write the Substack exploring ChatGPT. Andrea, you want to just mention your Substack, and then we'll hop into exactly what we're doing today?
So yeah, hi everyone. My Substack is The Art of Asking Questions, where I explore how asking better questions can improve various aspects of your life, from work, relationships, professional context, and AI, which is what we'll talk about today.
Awesome. So yeah, it's the art of asking questions, and now we're in the art of building apps, because this is our second stream in a row of building apps. So really fun. I'm really just going to let Andrea take the wheel here. I know you wanted to pull up something on your screen so we can get started.
Yes, let me press the screen sharing button. There we are. So I think you should be able to see my screen now.
Yes.
Let me press record now. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So what you can see here on screen is a transcription app. It's a native Mac app, and everything you just saw happened entirely on my laptop. No cloud, no account, no audio leaving the machine. And what's interesting is that I didn't write a single line of code to build it, not one. I don't write Swift, which is the programming language you need. And until 2 days ago, I had never built a Mac app in my life.
So basically, that's what we're going to be talking about today. It's just a live transcription app. It's on your Mac, you're speaking, it's transcribing real time.
Absolutely. And we're going to tell everybody how this happened, because honestly, it happened a little bit by accident. And then we'll show you the method, which is the part I really want you to take away, because it applies to pretty much anything that you might want to build, not just this specific app. Then we'll do a bit more of a proper demo of the app. And at the end, we'll tell you how to get the exact same prompts that built this app, so you can do it yourselves.
Cool. So I guess just a quick question here. What made you decide that you wanted to build this? How did this start?
So I do a lot of work, and transcribing is something that has become a part of my everyday job. So in the past, say, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, 5 years ago, it was in my job, I do lots of interviews, focus groups, workshops, and I speak with lots of people, and I used to take lots and lots of notes. And then when COVID started, tools like Microsoft Teams and the like became more and more common. And with those, transcription apps. There was another one that I use online called Otter. That was one of the first transcription apps I ever used. But all of these solutions basically mean that your information goes somewhere on the internet. And when it's, say Microsoft solutions, SharePoint and the like, people tend to trust it, and that's fine. But software like Otter, for example, because I work in the UK and Otter is based in the US, some clients have rightly questioned it on the grounds of data processing, data transfer between countries. And so I was wondering, what if we could do some transcription on device without letting the data go anywhere?
Yeah, I could see why people would actually find that to be important, especially with your field, with your profession. So what did you do? Like, how did this all work out?
So my original idea was to make a browser tool, as in an app that you double click and launches in the browser, because that's what I had been doing till now. My goal was to, as I was saying, was to have private transcription. So meeting notes, interviews, or even just voice memos. So you talk into it for, I don't know, ideas for your next Substack post. And yeah, I was just wondering, what can I do? And so I did what everyone does now. I asked an AI. I had a chat with Perplexity about what sort of speech recognition models could run privately, locally, without sending anything anywhere. And I got a really confident and plausible answer, which is the usual when you use AI. And so I thought, great, oh, this will work in the browser just as I usually do. So let's build it.
Huh. So you were working with Perplexity then to start building this. Is that
That,
how?
that's right. So that was the very beginning. And that's usually how I search for stuff that I don't know about. I find that Perplexity is the easiest way to get to grips with things. But on this occasion, the idea that Perplexity gave me didn't quite work in the browser. And actually, I never got that far because when I had a concrete idea, so you should use so and so model, I took the idea to Claude, and Claude went like, "That's not going to work the way you think it will." So there was a lovely reality check. And basically, it told me that if I wanted to run a proper speech model privately at a decent quality and on my own hardware, it had to be an app, not a browser tab.
Got it. So it needs to be an app living on your Mac, not on the browser. Sorry for the background noise. There's a 3-year-old up there. Hopefully not everybody can hear that too loud. So, but you've never built a Mac app before, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I had no idea whatsoever. And it's interesting that, in a way, Perplexity didn't quite get it wrong. The ideas that it gave me, you need to use this type of model. That was a correct answer, but it didn't quite tell me it would have worked in practice in the way that I hoped. But I I talked to Claude Code and he gave me a more practical answer about what would work. And I find that speaking with Claude Code is quite helpful because it tends to give you more grounded answers about what you want. So yeah, I was like, if it's got to be a Mac app, then let's go and do a Mac app.
Okay. So basically, it started off Perplexity, then you went into Claude Code, and so I kind of want to get a feel for how this ended up working out with Claude Code for you. If you could kind of dive into that.
Yes, absolutely. And so the key point is that for this sort of thing, you should never go to Claude Code and tell it, build me a transcription app. That's mental. Claude will just do a bad job. It's because it's just too much. You can't ask for the whole thing in one go because you will get an enormous pile of code and then you spend days discovering everything that's wrong with it. So instead, I did two things. First, I had a conversation with Claude Code about the idea. So, what should the app do? What mattered to me? What the constraints were? So, this wasn't about coding. So, I was just talking the idea through with Claude Code. And then I said very explicitly, don't build it. I want a series of consecutive prompts that will help me build the app step by step. And that's essentially a recipe where each step in the recipe is a prompt, and each prompt will produce something, then the following prompt will have to build on.
Interesting. Interesting. So basically, instead of just asking Claude to just go build me an app, you asked it to give you a series of prompts to go step by step, like baby steps. Just to give a quick comment on that, I've actually found that a lot of the times, I think you learn this the more you work with AI. It is true that some of the stronger models now are able to complete multi-layer tasks pretty well. But I think sometimes when you do that back and forth and you go one step at a time, the final product tends to be a little bit better.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And it's so essentially Claude gave me a set of 9 prompts. So, you start by setting up the project, then you capture the audio, then you transcribe it, then you build the interface, and you handle the model loading into the app. You add a word count feature, a clear and download button, a library of past transcripts, and then a final check at the end. So it's a number of consecutive steps. And you can think of it like building a house. So you would never ask a builder to build the entire thing overnight, and then you walk in at the end hoping for the best. So what you would do when building is that you would inspect the building at each stage, the foundations, the walls, the roof, the plumbing, because if the foundations are wrong, you want to know that before the roof is on, right? If fixing the foundation on day one is cheap, but fixing it after the house is finished is a catastrophe. And software is really exactly the same. So if you build in small steps, a few things happen. So first of all, you can actually see the progress. So the the demo of the app was popping up in front of me as Claude was building it after every prompt. So after every prompt, you get something that runs or at least shows. You're not staring at the whole house built, which in code terms might be 2,000 lines of code. Then the other benefit is that problems can get caught early, because if you do things step by step, Claude is going to test each and every bit that it builds as it goes. So a bug in step 2 gets fixed in step 2. It doesn't get discovered in step 9, buried under everything else, where it might be structural and horribly expensive to unpick. As you were saying, I think these models are really good now. So it will probably still fix it if it finds it in step 9. But ideally, you don't want to, because it's very expensive. And that's the final benefit, actually. So breaking things down is a lot cheaper. If you use the API, it's literally cheaper. Whereas if you just use Claude Code with your subscription, it uses less of your usage in practice. So because the small and focused prompts use a lot less tokens compared to one giant build that is followed by a series of giant repair jobs in practice.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. So if you don't mind, let's look at some of these prompts, because I think that's the main idea here that you're trying to get across. Is you didn't go to Claude Code and say, build me an app. You went step by step. So I kind of want to see what that looks like.
Absolutely. So the prompts should be on screen now. We'll be sharing this after the live. So you can see here all of the prompts, and I would say there are 9 prompts. If you look at them, they are quite technical in nature. So they say a lot of techie stuff. I want to be crystal clear that I have not written a single line of this. So I told Claude in human language what I wanted. Claude knew how to build that sensibly in programming terms. And it basically created a prompt for itself to then build the app. This looks very difficult, but if you ask me whether I understand it, the answer is not really. I get the gist of what's happening, what Claude is being asked to do, but I wouldn't be able to write this at all. And I want to pick prompt number 5, which is a good example of to focus on, because prompt 5 is about user experience. And this is something that I was talking to Claude about as we were designing the principles behind the app. Because basically, to do this on your computer, you need to install a speech model. And the speech model is a fairly big file, several hundred megabytes. And the first time you launch the app, it has to download. And even then, it takes a moment to download. So there's a moment where the app might show an empty box, and a new user might get into the app, press record, and it's not recording. And so you might think it's broken. And what the prompt is doing here is suggesting a design solution centered around user experience. It says, check whether the model is already on the machine. If it is, show checking for speech recognition model. If it's generally missing, then show downloading, first launch only. And what's interesting here and worth reflecting on is that this is not thinking about code. This is about thinking about a human being looking at the app and imagining what that human being will feel like when the first time they open the app. So you want your users to understand what's happening. So I think this is a much more important skill compared to, for example, all the technical stuff. Now, this is not to say that the programming is not important. Obviously, it is very important. But if you're doing something as an amateur, as I would describe myself with this, what matters most is not the tech stuff, but it's the ability to think about what is a good product and how would I feel if so and so happened to me. And I think because now we're also used to using software as a service, various platforms online, you probably know this sort of thing is really annoying to me. Or, oh, I've seen that platform do this thing especially well. That's what I want my app to do. These prompts effectively read like a really good product brief. And the idea is that if you can write a good brief, say for a colleague, then you can instruct AI to build one for you.
Right. Yeah, I like how you're being transparent here. So just to sum it up for people, you have 9 prompts. You didn't write them word for word. You went into Claude, you asked Claude to write the prompts for you. I would say probably 9 times out of 10 for most people, this would be the best route to take when you're building something like this, because the end product will just be better rather than using your own human language to try and build it step by step. You can use your own human language to generate the prompts. And like Andre showed, you have 9 prompts. I like how you're being transparent about that. And I think that's important for a lot of people to hear. I think a lot of people don't realize that's probably the best route to take here. I guess my next question is then what? What did you actually do to continue through this process?
So, in the spirit of transparency, let's be completely honest. I was watching TV. So I had the laptop on my lap and I pasted the prompts into Claude Code one at a time. And generally, I just watch. Every now and then, Claude will ask you for permission to do this or to do that. Can I run this code or whatever? You just need to say yes. Well, there, press yes. And Claude did the whole thing. It wrote the code, it ran it, it tested it, it hit some errors, it fixed its own errors. And then it told me step one is done. And my contribution was mostly reading that and say, yeah, carry on. Here's step two. And the only one time where I had to touch something that is more like a developer tool was opening Xcode. That's Apple's development app. And the reason for it is that to turn this setup into an app that you can run in your applications folder. So this is effectively now an app that would appear on your Mac in the bottom bar with all of the other apps. I even gave it an icon. But to get something to work like that, you need to digitally sign it. You need to add a sign-in certificate. And that's just Apple's way of saying, yeah, this app belongs to me. And to do it, it's just a few clicks in a settings screen. You need to log in with your iCloud account and then select something. It's called like team certificate or something like that. But it was literally one action. And then I went back into Claude. I ran the final prompt. So prompt number 9 needs to be run after this step in Xcode. And then Claude finished everything off. It built the proper finished version. It checked that everything was working as a real installed app, not just inside the development environment. And this was quite funny because as Claude was testing the app, my laptop was using a synthetic voice to say things out loud and to check that the app was transcribing them. But yeah, overall, I wrote absolutely 0 lines of code. And that's quite unusual for me because I do typically, when I work in Python, for example, or HTML, I typically open the code and have a look around. And this time, I just did none of that at all. I just let it go.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I like the transparency about watching TV in the meantime. I think before we keep going, and I do want to ask you, like, how long did this whole process take? So I want you to answer that question. But I think that in between time of what you're doing when AI is working for you is pretty important. I don't think there's anything wrong with watching TV or scrolling TikTok, even though I don't have TikTok. I think that's my one fatal flaw is I'm on YouTube Shorts sometimes. And it's just when you look back, it's astounding to see like how many shorts you just watched, for example, while AI was working for you. And then I realized, okay, that's fine sometimes, but isn't there something else that I could be doing in the meantime? And for the most part, you can definitely be doing other work at the same time. If your laptop is open and Claude is running, you could be working on something else at the same time, or you could read a book or watch TV. It's completely up to you. So I guess The real question is, how long did this all take?
The honest answer is 3 episodes of Sex and the City. So say 45 minutes. And I should say where the time actually went because the prompts really ran themselves. The real work, the thinking, that was done before the prompt, deciding what the app should do, what I did or didn't need, what would confuse people. That took maybe another 30, 45 minutes beforehand. So, yeah, for full transparency, you do need to spend a bit of time thinking about this, Googling around, or I was playing with Perplexity. So once Claude told me, actually, you can't do it that way, I was chatting with Perplexity a bit more, pushing back, exploring solutions, just to figure out, is this the best way of doing it? And picking up on what you were saying, I would say that typically when I work with AI, and I do that a lot for work. So I think we spoke previously about thematic coding, for example. It's something that I do a lot for work, which is essentially taking text and assigning themes to it for then to then analyze it and synthesize it to then figure out what to say in your report as a consultant. So when AI is doing that for me, I'm usually doing other work. Yeah, I've got multiple screens. One of them is Claude doing its thing and every now and then popping up with a window asking for permission. But yeah, otherwise, I'm usually doing other stuff. And because Leo and I are on different time zones, UK and the US, this was for me in the evening. And so that's why I happen to be watching TV.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing wrong with little TV. I see some questions in the chat. We will try to answer as many questions as we can towards the end. So really appreciate everybody participating there. But we just want to get through. We want to show the full demo to show properly what Andrea is talking about here. And yeah, like I said, towards the end, we'll answer as many chats as possible. So if you want to pull up the full demo, Andrea.
Yeah, let me put it up on screen. Yeah, so you should be able to see the app now. Let me click record. So I hit record, I talk, I notice what's happening, and nothing is clearly going off to a server. The text is there, exactly what I said. And I can promise you nothing went off to a server because I did try the app. I did try the app in airplane mode just to make sure that what Claude had promised had actually been delivered. So you can see a word count in the bottom left corner. It's a small detail, but nice, especially if you have a long bit of text or long transcript. Then if you click download, as you can see here, it adds the files. This is the file we just recorded. And then these are files that I recorded earlier. Actually, I think, yeah, one of them, I know, yeah, that's just text from earlier. I didn't save. But yeah, these are all files that I have created by testing the app. Then you can go back to live, and this is where you record. And quite interestingly, I hit record now. You can start a message, then I stop recording, and then you can continue the message. So see, this also works in that way. And then you can download that again, and you've got the file. So these are basic text files that you've got in your downloads folder, and you open the Finder, and they're sitting right there, and you can send them to anyone. You can do whatever you want with them. Just, yeah, text files. And this app is deliberately simple, so it doesn't do everything, but it does exactly what I asked for it to do. It's private by design. It costs me just a small bit of time and my Claude subscription that I will pay for anyway. And it's worth saying that 5 years ago, this would have been either a contractor with a specification document and a serious invoice, or perhaps paying a cloud provider. As I was saying earlier, it could be Otter or any of the other solutions. And just to add, it would be pretty easy to add more functionality now that the scaffolding is there. So for example, we could add here in the bottom right corner a little Dropbox where you put the file and the file gets transcribed. So that's exactly how the model works anyway. So you put a MP3 file or whatever, and it gets transcribed for you. So this app can be extended. It can be prettified to an extent. I didn't spend much time creating the most beautiful design that I could possibly create. But yeah, it's pretty flexible, and I found it a really cool experience to put this together without lifting a finger, essentially.
Awesome. Really cool. I will say one use case that I could think of for this just off the bat is if you're a creator on Substack, for example, you can use this to help you write articles. instead of sitting there and typing. If you just have an idea, sometimes, at least I find it's easier to talk than it is to type. You can just sit there, talk out your article. Obviously, it will have maybe some gaps and things that you might actually use AI to edit for you and make everything more concise, maybe add some more details, some references, some citations, things of that nature. But it seems like this could be a pretty good machine to just pump out content on Substack, for example. What do you think about that?
No, absolutely. Different people use transcription apps in different ways. And what you just described, putting your thinking into writing, is a very common use case. It's not something that I do personally, but it's just because I don't think that way. I think much better when I start writing. It gives me clarity. But I know that loads of people are paying for tools online to do exactly what this app does, essentially saving some text documents in a library to then take them and do stuff with them. Now, because this was made with Claude Code, I don't doubt that it would be possible to add some sort of AI tooling in the app, whether with Claude Code directly on the machine or with the API. Obviously, that would defeat the purpose of this being entirely offline, right? But adding some AI functionality that takes, I don't know, the prompt recorded at 13:10, 1 p.m. and turn it into an article. I can't see any reason why you couldn't do that. That said, you could also talk directly into Claude and get it to write the article for you.
That's true. That's true as well. I guess the main difference here is this could be used in airplane mode,
Oh
which is
yeah.
cool. You know that your data is not getting sent anywhere. So basically, I guess just to wrap up this topic, what do you take from all this? I think it's clear as day now that most people that know a little bit about AI know that you don't have to know how to code anymore. That's not news. AI can code for you, AI can build for you. I think what I've taken from this, it's just the main thing is how you built it instead of just going into Claude or to ChatGPT and saying, build me this. You actually took it in a step by step kind of way, which even doing that, I think a lot of people, if they ask AI to build them an app, they're more so they would like to just click a button, walk away, come back, the app is done. I think what you're showing is actually if you do this step by step, you actually ask AI for the prompts, then you go, you have 9 prompts step by step. It still only took 45 minutes and you still were able to watch 3 episodes of your favorite show. And the product came out perfectly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely agree. Yeah, the news here is not that AI can code, as you were saying. And I think, as you've described very clearly, the skills that mattered here were how to describe the app and the problem you wanted to solve in a precise enough way, and then breaking that big problem into steps. And again, as we were saying, it wasn't me breaking the problem into steps. I only contributed the principle. You've got to break this in steps. And this is all about clarity and communication. So, as I mentioned earlier, if you can write a decent brief for a colleague or somebody to do something, then you probably already have the skills that you need to engage with this. And I think the reason why it's so important to be transparent about how I made this app is that lots of people feel a bit threatened or worried about AI for coding or making apps. It feels like a big deal. Last time we spoke, we talked about making apps with Party Rock, and that is a drag and drop way of making apps. But those apps are quite simple and they're hosted online. Apps like this are well within many people's reach today, which is, yeah, I think it's revolutionary.
Now, what about building an app for the App Store? So, for example, like this app that you just built, it's local on your computer, so it won't be on the App Store, correct?
Yes, that's correct. And but there's a very easy reason why. So as I was explaining before, as you develop the prompts, after prompt 8, I had to go into Xcode, the app development, so the Apple development software, and put in a certificate. So the app needs to be signed for your computer to accept to install it. There are workarounds, but you shouldn't install unsigned apps on your device. That said, if you wanted this to be in the App Store, and probably I'm sure this can be adapted for iPhones and iPads and whatever else, what you need is a developer account, basically. And you just need to pay for it. At the moment, it's $99 per year. I'm not an app developer for a living. I don't think I would make money out of this, so I'm not going to pay for that. But you can still create apps for an audience of one. So any problem that you think can be solved or that you need solving, you can see if you can actually solve with an app like this. And something that I found especially interesting in this experience is that usually, as I was saying, I go and look at the code, I engage with the techie parts of this. And every time I need to reopen that app, I need to open Visual Studio or open a terminal. That's not user friendly. This app, I'm staring at it in the bar at the bottom of my screen. This is fully integrated in how I use my device, which I think is huge. And now speaking to our audience now, well, if there is a small annoying problem in your work that you could fix with a tool built just for you, what could that be? If you've got any cool ideas, put them in the chat, see what others think, and maybe you'll get an idea for your next project.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's probably the coolest part about all this. If you have an idea now, you can just build it. I guess what we're just showing you is maybe this isn't the only way to do it. It is a good way to do it. So I guess just to touch on the privacy angle one more time, like I think that's actually a major part here. Not just the fact that you don't have to pay for some secondhand service, which a lot of people probably do for transcription services. Like, for example, in my own use case, like for YouTube videos, I use Descript, but I don't just use it for transcriptions. It's used for editing and the MCP with Claude or with ChatGPT, so I can use AI to help me edit the videos. But what do you think about the privacy angle here?
First of all, the privacy was the entire driver of this project, and the idea was to find a way to avoid using tools that don't protect my privacy or the privacy of any speaker whose voice I would like to transcribe. And yeah, it's quite ironic that I use AI, an AI company, which is exactly what I wanted to avoid, to build something that helps me avoid the AI company itself. It's a bit circular, but AI helped me, Cloud AI helped me avoid using itself. So this is still using transcription, a language model, but it lives on my machine, which is, I think, a fantastic outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned, this isn't the only way to do it. Obviously, this is the way that you chose to do it. Are there any caveats or any other workarounds that you would think of?
Yeah, I think it's important to be open about these things. Anything serious, you shouldn't run on a homemade app because things do need quality assurance and checks. If you're running your company's payroll, you wouldn't want to run it on an app like this. This approach really shines for all those personal tools, for prototypes, smaller utilities, things that if it breaks, whatever, you just shrug and ask Claude to fix it, which is something that I do, on occasion for all the apps that I end up building for myself. So basically, if the failure is expensive, actually expensive, or just taking you a lot of time, you should really avoid homemade apps. But the reason is quite simple, is that it's about quality assurance. If you're building something that is consequential, then it needs proper engineering and it needs people who can read the code, people who know practice. If you're making something professional, you've got to speak with a professional. So just know which kind of thing you're building before you start.
So I guess to just wrap it up, put a bow on it, and we'll answer some chats. Like, what should people take away here from this whole conversation? What will we be giving them after this stream is over?
We are going to share the whole process to make this, the lessons learned, and then we are also going to share the prompt chain. Actually, let me see if I can pop it in the chat for you since you were kind enough to join us live. I should be able to paste it in. Okay, let me see. The interface. There you go. Paste and go. So yeah, you should be able to see the entire prompt chain on your computers now. So yeah, this is what we're going to share with everybody. And it will be in the article as well when we publish the write up from a conversation.
Awesome. Awesome. So, yeah, I think that will answer some questions in the chat as well. And we'll get into a couple questions before we wrap up. But yeah, I think final thoughts on this on my end. I think what I mentioned before, really, it's not news that you don't have to know how to code to build apps, build really anything, whether it's local or if you want to end up publishing on the app store, that's just another extra step and a little bit of money every year to pay, or relatively a little bit of money. And I think it's just really the process. So I, it's nice that you're being transparent about your whole process, how long it took, the fact that you were watching TV, all of that stuff. I think it's really fun and brings a little bit of lightheartedness into the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's the idea of doing these things in a light-hearted way. It's very important. It just don't take it too seriously. You'll get things wrong. Claude itself will get things wrong all the time. Just get in there, have a go. And the same applies to ChatGPT, Gemini, and whatever else. I just talk about Claude because that's what I use, but all the others, I think they will probably do as good a job given the same set of prompts. Those are not Claude specific, of course. So, yeah, just take it easy, go get in there, have a go. And you see that it is easier than you'd imagine.
Absolutely. So I guess let's answer a few chats here before we wrap up. And before that as well, I'm just going to post the YouTube channel in the chat. If you're not able to copy paste that into a URL, if you're on your phone, just go to YouTube, type in Exploring ChatGPT Live, and you will find the streams. Andrea and I also have streams with other creators there. So really appreciate if you can subscribe on YouTube. That's Exploring ChatGPT Live. So yeah, let's answer some chats. I'm going to look through. Andrea's going to look through. If you find anything that catches your eye, Andrea, feel free to mention it as well. I see Josh says, giving me all kinds of ideas here. Hadn't considered building a Mac app before, and I like the control of the data aspect. So yeah,
Honestly, same here. And I don't know why. Like I found that really eye-opening. I build lots of solutions for my everyday work. Like at work, I build apps with AI that really change how I do things. It's really made a lot of things better. And they've always made them in a way that looks more like DIY as opposed to a polished finished product that lives in your start menu if you're Windows, or the bottom bar, the dock. I don't even know what it's called, the dock on Mac. And now my mind has been opened as well. I think it's a great idea, and having something in your apps makes a huge difference in terms of how frequently you're going to use it. So if there's a barrier to use, so you need a terminal or Visual Studio or whatever else, things will become a bit annoying, and after a while you just drop them. Whereas this, it just makes your life easier.
absolutely. Let's see. Sid says, it's the people in the loop that make AI work well. So you're saying the steps, that's the person in the loop, and there's a factor that makes the build work well. So I think that's exactly really it. It's not just asking to build an app and come back. It's building it, I won't say the right way, in a way that works, in a way that we have shown to work.
Absolutely. And what I'd add to that is, remember what I mentioned at the beginning. It's also about human in the lead. So you don't go and tell Claude, figure out an app for transcription that is privacy aware. I was in the lead. I did my research. I had a conversation. I got the prompts developed. I iterated them a bit to make sure they covered the various aspects I wanted them to cover. And then I was in the loop checking. So it's not, yeah, you don't just make this start, you give it a push, and then you check where it lands. It's you think about it. In what direction do I want to push it? And then you check it throughout and see where it lands. So yeah, human in the lead, I think, is as important as human in the loop.
I know Dr. Linda Marie here asked for the prompts and for the steps. Like we mentioned, Andrea did post it here, but if you can't copy paste that Google Docs, Andrea will be putting out an article which will follow along with the video that gets posted on YouTube. That should be out shortly. I will say I'm a bit backlogged on videos right now, so hopefully within a week that will be out. So definitely subscribe to Andrea Chiarelli on Substack, and you will find that on his Substack. Robin asks, did Claude know how to correct itself?
Usually it does. So the main question is how big was the screw up? So if you start with one massive prompt or one massive activity to just build the app, then it will sometimes it will struggle to figure out how to correct itself, or maybe it will fix something that breaks something else. If you do it that way all at once, sometimes it just goes in loops and you start using thousands and thousands of tokens for every answer. So that's quite tricky. If you build it like this, step by step, that's a lot better. And most often it knows exactly how to correct itself. And what's especially useful to know is that when Claude does things step by steps, usually it tests them. So as I was telling you earlier, this app, Claude, started synthesizing a voice from the computer to check that the recording was working. He started opening the app in the background and taking screenshot to make sure that the interface was appearing as it had designed it. Yeah, long story short, it does usually know how to correct itself, but especially so if the correction is in context.
Absolutely. Well, I'll try and answer one or two more chats before we have to run out. I do have to take my 3-year-old to summer camp. So I will just mention too, for the people that are watching on mobile and they're saying that they can't get to Google Docs right now, if you don't want to wait until it comes out in the Substack article after the YouTube video, what you could do is if you scroll up in the chat or to wherever Andrea posted in the chat the Google Docs, if you screenshot it with your phone, you can go into your photos later and copy paste it from the images. So if you want to get it right away, just screenshot Andrea's chat of the Google Docs, copy paste it. So yeah, Dr. Linda Marie, what process could a teacher take to share it with students?
So, sorry, say it again. Well, okay, yeah, to share with you. Yes, I think not too dissimilar to what we follow today, to be honest, in that I think for these things, it's always important to be grounded and honest and transparent, because all of these things with AI, some people perceive as difficult, foreign, not for me. I think the thing you absolutely want to avoid is that people see what you've built or what you're trying to show them and think this is not for me. It's the same as why for a long time women didn't go into certain fields, because lots of people were role modeling that's not for you. There's something that needs to be absolutely avoided. We want to project the message this is accessible to everyone. So I think that is the first step. And to do that, you need to take things step by step, so you don't offload a huge range of concepts, idea onto people. Today we only had 1 hour. Probably something like this done properly would take 3, to just go slowly and cover everything in some depth. And then I think being honest about what AI is and isn't. So the fact that it seems quite clever, sometimes it's quite dumb. It will make mistakes. Sometimes it puts something on the screen that just doesn't work. So people, when they use AI to build an app like this, will find that it doesn't work for them. The prompts I've shared, they worked on my machine. But if you know how AI works, you will also know that they might not work exactly the same on yours. The app on your device could look entirely different, because AI is a probabilistic engine and Claude Code is slightly less probabilistic than a regular online chat. But we have to be honest, we don't know what is going to come out of it. And so this is the process that I followed, and it worked. It might be that on your device it needs a little bit of adjustment. So just being transparent about what you can expect from the process, and that if you get stuck, there is support. I think those are the things I would recommend the most.
Awesome. Awesome. So for a reason of time constraints, unfortunately, I have to end it there. I just want to say thank you so much, Andrea. As usual, we will be back probably within a couple weeks, Andrea and I. In the meantime, subscribe on YouTube. Exploring ChatGPT Live would really appreciate it. Subscribe to Andrea Chiarelli on Substack. And that's about it. Thank you for everybody in the chat as well. And enjoy the rest of your day. Bye now.
Thanks, everyone.